Welcome back to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson, guys. And like we ask you all the time, if you get value out of this or you know somebody that would, please send this episode to them. Also, if you could, please so kindly like, share, comment, subscribe to our channels, all of them, whatever platform you're on. If you feel generous, give us a review. We really, really, really need those reviews so that we can get this out to the GP. That's general population, if you know what I'm talking about. What's up, Big Chet? How you doing, brother?
Good.
Long time no see, man.
I know.
Yeah, what's been new in your world?
Oh, gosh, where to start? But that's enough about me. Let's talk about.
Heard you got a new position somewhere. Want to talk about that or
No.
too soon?
Too soon.
Jeez, talk about cliffhanger. Everybody's like waiting
something
on the
for
edge.
next time.
Yeah, well,
New position. What's your favorite position?
right next to you, brother.
Okay. All right. Man, it's chilly.
So let's get right after it, man. You know, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, you know, and we're gonna talk gym stuff. We're gonna talk, you know, things that gym owners, especially combat sports gyms, you know, are seeing this time of year, what they're facing, what they've been, you know, ups, downs, in betweens, what's working, what's not working, things like that. So you know, what do you think that off the gate this time of year? What do you think is, and what you've been here with us? What's it been? 6 years? 5 years? 6?
6, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 years. So, you know, you've been in the trenches long enough. You know what I mean? And also you have prior experience to running, you know, helping run and facilitate a Taekwondo school. So, you know, we're in a new world completely. Per back then, what do you think this time of year is the focal point? You know, we're in the beginning of November. When they see it, it'll probably be like mid-November when they hear this. What do you think is the focal point and gym owners should be focusing on?
Focal point. What should you be doing now? Well, it's also a weird time of year.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like you can see a lot of things that are going to be kind of running true from year to year. But you've got holidays, you've got sports, we've got all kinds of things thrown in the mix. The one thing I would say right now is really find all the ways you can to finish the year strong. So whatever that means to you, looks like in your organization, really, I think maybe that should have been identified in September, but you know, it's better late than never.
Yeah.
So really look at that. How are you going to finish strong? Is it, you know, were you trying to hit a certain number of members? Were you trying to implement new programs, you know, maybe new classes, but whatever that is, maximize that so you end the year on a really good note and kind of set yourself up, not only the things to come in the first quarter, but you know, the whole mindset, the whole attitude going into that new year. And we know we have all the new year stuff that goes along with that. But from the business standpoint, finish strong, have a great year, a good mindset. And you know, how is that going to set you up for that first quarter?
Yeah, I like that. I think that, you know, when you're talking about combat sports gyms, everybody has their own identity, right? Like for us, you know, we got a lot of things going on here at SBY MMA. And one of the things that, you know, I think that it is more of our identity more than anything is, you know, kind of how it's like a family friendly type of vibe, right? Mm-hmm. Because that kind of matches the pure fitness type of model. That's pure family fitness, right. SBY MMA and fitness. You know, we have combat sports, but we also kind of focus on the fitness side of it too. And then we've got a fighting division and competing division, and we've got all these great things. And for us, you know, and I've always said this, I've always said that we need to have more members, casual members, everyday Joes, average Joes, whatever you want to call them, mm-hmm. to keep the lights on so that our fighting team can compete and we can afford to have them go out here and fight, right? Because fighters are broke. We've always talked about that. That's our identity. Other gyms, they can have, you know, whatever identity. Some gyms, you know, they've only got top line athletes, you know, superior rooms, superior type of instruction and skill. They're hitting every top tournament or competition route. Some are world-class gyms. some are just self-defense, some are just strictly on, that. So I think identifying your identity in the beginning and obviously sticking to it, or maybe changing it depending on where you find yourself in once you're knee deep in the world of owning a gym, I think is big. And then, like you said, at the end of the year, or this time of year, really start dialing in what that closing looks like.
Right. And that's what I meant by that too. If you're, say you're a big jiu-jitsu school and you're a big competitive jiu-jitsu gym, how, did you get all the wins you wanted? Did you take all the hardware home? You have your guys and girls sign up for, stuff going into the new year, and they've already got it planned out, and they've got their training set up, and that's going to help you as the owner too, to gauge things. I know for us, we have, we just had Stellar Fights.
Yep.
We had a pretty damn good night at Stellar Fights.
I'd say so.
So that's as far as our competitors go. And that is really a family affair when you look at the number of people that we bring out, and also, that support that. So that's one thing. And then, some of the special things that we do that aren't even in the gym, but are for the community. And we were talking about some of those things today, how to give back and how we can help people out. So yeah, all of those things, but that is the biggest thing, is to identify, what does, not just grasping at straws, not to say that you can't get some things done that way, but really hone in on what that is and kind of figure out where you need to go. Yeah.
No, I agree. And, I think that right now for us, we are, we're always member driven. That's for me is number one. Let's get a large amount of members in here. Also, let's get through the ideal members versus the non-ideal members, right? Because not all money's good money. If you've got a gentleman in here that, makes the people feel uncomfortable, or, is just not really adding much value. It just seems to kind of linger, which we've had, it might not be our ideal member. We have, somebody who's complaining all the time, and you can never satisfy them. And then they're creating that kind of energy with other members. That's not your ideal member, so sifting through those high numbers of members, to find those ideal members, and then, casting a deeper net opposed to a wider net. Okay, cool. From a monetary and a business standpoint, we should be able to serve this member with as many products and services as possible, not to get confused with trying to, chase around them with our hands out and trying to, nickel and dime them on everything. But if there's a service and there's something that we know they need, right, it's better that they get it through us than get it elsewhere.
Right. I mean, on the business side, if you can get a bigger share of that existing customer, that's a great business move,
100%.
Great business sense. But also, like you say, you're not chasing them around like,
with your hand out.
please get, because if you're offering value and you're offering something more that they can get here, then why wouldn't you do it under one roof?
Totally agree.
That's very fair.
Totally agree. And we've been blessed because our community is so strong here and our network is so strong. I had talked to one of our members who had a horrific injury, not here. He had a horrific injury at his job, and that ended up putting him out of training for over a year and a half, right? Well, he was out, and I'm not going to say the names, but you'll figure it out as soon as I say it. He was out all night. He messed his foot up, his ankle up. You know what I mean? And he was out all night last night chasing down cows, trying to get cows retrieved here locally, because he's got horses, right? Uh-huh. And I was like, oh yeah, you know that guy. He's like, yeah, I met him through the gym, and these two guys are really, really high quality individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs. Just great men, right? And now they found attraction to each other through the gym and through, they had a common trainer. They see each other's stuff on social media. And now, they're having each other's backs because this guy's having an issue with his lost cows, and this guy's got horses, so it's such a cool dynamic, which, again, it goes back to that deeper net. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily always monetary. Now we've got members connecting and making connections outside of not even training in the same sessions or classes together. Neither one of these guys have done a class. Both of these guys have done individual one-on-one trainings with, coaches here. Never have they shared the gym at the same time, but somehow found each other attraction, the law of attraction, and so forth.
And we'll take referrals all day long. And what's awesome about that is when you have that kind of connection, or you have members that make those connections, a lot of times. So if they're talking about, it could be self-defense. It could be boxing. It could be jiu-jitsu. It could be whatever. It could just be, hey, I want to lose weight. I want to do this. The first place they're going to think of is, where they made that connection and where they're familiar with and they like you. So it's almost like you say, not all money's good money, and not all, you can't have everybody. It's unfortunately because some people just don't work out for various reasons.
And it's not always a good fit either.
But those referrals usually pan out a little bit better because they're almost pre-qualified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because somebody's giving you, like, they're going to send somebody that they're comfortable with, that they know and they've made a connection with, even if we haven't met them yet.
Totally agree. And that's another thing. It's a great segue. The referrals right now, we put a referral program in place. You know what I mean? We're able to give, maybe $100 merch credit, you know what I mean? Maybe a month off, maybe a private session. We're able to give these things that, reward our members from passing it along.
And why wouldn't you? I mean,
why wouldn't you? Yes, but also it's not even just about that. It's most people just forget. Most people just forget that, hey, I got this person that, they speak upon the reactionary, right? Is that a word? Reactionary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Got the thumbs up. They're reactionary, right? So they'll react to when somebody talks about combat sports instead of being just a little bit more proactive as far as, hey man, I need these pair of gloves. You know what I mean? They're $150. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to hustle up a little bit and get me somebody in the door. So
I mean, as a business owner, gym owner, why wouldn't you offer those incentives, no matter what business it is or what industry it is? Like,
absolutely.
Why wouldn't you offer your loyal members, your customers, whoever, clients, something for bringing more members to you that are going to get the same benefits that they're getting.
Totally agree.
Hey, we get those mailers in the mailbox all the time with the coupons in them. We forget to use those half the time, right? And I'm going to save this for this, and I'm going to give this to my neighbor because I know they like this place, and then they go in a drawer and we forget them half the time. Yeah. So it's one of those things too. You got to remind everybody that that's the thing, and like, hey, don't be afraid to talk about it. In fact, we encourage you to talk about it because we're going to give you something that's worth, like you said, it could be merch, it could be something off the membership, whatever, however you want to work that.
No, I agree. What else do you think finishing strong looks like? You know what I mean? I know for us, we've got a couple things that we're ironing out. Where do you think, from your perspective, and we could share, of course you and I know, but share with our listeners and maybe hopefully potentially other potential gym owners or current gym owners is working right now or going to work, or we're really narrowed down and focused on?
I think, so I've noticed this kind of with the fighters, and because we've kind of been partially part of the gym has been in that mode for a little while because we had some fights coming up. But really keeping the members on track. So if it's your fighters, if it's your personal training clients one-on-one, I think that's really, that's going to be beneficial to you as a coach. And then, obviously to the business owner, and keeping them on track. What I mean is, instead of just going through the motions and haphazardly come in and you're going, okay, well, do 20 reps of this, and then we're going to go over here and work on the bags. Like, what are your goals? Like, and where you started 3 months ago, 6 months ago, how long you've been with us? Where do you see that? Getting that feedback? That feedback is very, very important, because it could be positive, it could be negative, it could be somewhere in between, or a perception for the client or for a coach or for the business owner. So what, where do you see things from when you started, hey, how it started and where we are now, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that's important to have that conversation to help you gauge things too.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe, okay, so we know we need to work on this going into the first quarter. And now I know with other members coming in or other clients coming in, need to work on this so that same scenario doesn't pop up, which is something that could have been.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I also, to add to that, I think that there should be fitness challenge. I think that even though you're in a combat sports gym where, a lot of the attention is geared towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing or whatever, you still have to re-energize the members, right? You still have to re-energize your fighters or re-energize everybody. And let's just be honest. It's today is November 3rd, right? I know personally, I've stolen so much candy from my kids' baskets for Halloween. It's ridiculous. I'm not proud of myself. However, that's just what we do. We get, September hits, we get back to schedule with school, with football, with soccer, with all the sports.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You've got a couple fall activities that people are kind of excited about. The weather's kind of like back and forth.
Back-to-back weekends of festivals.
Back-to-back weekends of festivals, great weather. You got a wine fest, you got a beer fest, you got an autumn fest, you got all these things that go on. October hits, you know what I mean? You're cleaning up your little sports regiment, and then you're also still kind of having those little activities, and then you're kind of in the mode of, you've got 30 days of a mode of, school's back in, and this is my schedule, and we're off the summer schedule. And then, Halloween hits, and I've watched this so many times. That's kind of the beginning of the end, right?
That's right.
That's kind of where, everybody pulls the gas or pulls the pedal off the gas, where, I know in real estate it's real bad, but in the gym as well, they get laxed in their diets. We're gearing up till Thanksgiving. There's a Christmas party coming around after that. There's Christmas. So the diets get out of control. The commitment to the gym gets out of control. All of the things that we're so geared up towards. So I think it's a twofold thing for business owners, coaches, and all the and managements and gyms. I think, one, you should re-energize the group for some challenges or some things to stay on track through the holidays, so they don't blow up like balloons and get depressed and get down on themselves and start all the negative talk. And then, say what you want about New Year's resolutions, but there's a reason why they're there, and there's a reason why they work, and there's a reason why, gym owners hit the lottery during the New Year's time, which honestly for us, and you can contest to this, we don't necessarily hit a huge spike of people coming in the first 3 weeks of January.
No.
Because we're in a combat sports gym, you know what I mean? Or excuse me, because we're in a fitness club, Pure Fitness ends up getting all of those people at the end of December and the beginning of January, mid-January. We start seeing the big spike in memberships and attendance at the end of January to mid-February, where we just get, overloaded with massive people. And there'll be 120, 150 members in the gym during those times. The college kids, the college students, they come back at the end of January. So they've already had a semester where they've watched us and looked at us and wanted to come in. Now they're in the New Year's resolution. The New Year's resolution people, or the new people to the fitness club, see us and they want to come in. So, but back to my original point, you, as a gym owner, as a business owner, you should be throwing out, specials, throwing out, contests, competitions, all of these things to gear up for the holiday season, because it's so easy for people to get knocked off their pivot, knocked off their track. Everybody's kind of chilling, and then they come back so gung-ho in January. And I've always been a huge, I've always been huge on, look, man, it's great that you want to start your new diet, your new journey, your new lifestyle all in January, but is it sustainable? And are you going to be able to stay with it, throughout March?
And the thing with that too, it's funny because you can definitely make fun of the New Year's resolution thing, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if it works for you, then great. And if it doesn't completely work out the way you wanted it to, at least it was a step that you took.
I'm big, dude. I'm big.
So I think it's easy to poke fun at for sure. Yeah. And we see that time, but hey, if it helps,
I'm big on not poking fun of it. I'm big on, like, I'm a New Year's resolution guy. And I've said this before, I'll use any excuse to hit the reset button and get disciplined. You know what I mean? Right. It's, or get on track. It's very hard, and I'll just be very vulnerable with people. It's very hard to, stay on track when it comes to your fitness and eating and all that stuff as a gym owner. Like, it's very easy, especially being, a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, knocking on the door of my black belt, winning a couple titles, excuse me, being, a middle-aged man who's already out of that heavy competition room. It's real easy for me to sit on my side, and roll easily and not go out here and lift weights, not go out here and do the stupid shit that I needed to do, and I call it stupid because it's so painful and torture, workout wise. So, like, you can it's funny, the better you get at combat sports, it seems like the harder it is to stay in that real good shape, because, you know, you've already built a solid foundation. You've already got, you know, your skills. And now when you're competing or when you're, you know, going live, you've gotten so many skills, you know, you can kind of find your rest times and rest periods and default back to what is easier and less energy wasting. So, but I'll use any excuse to find a New Year's resolution or find a reason to hit the reset button.
Which is good, because some people go the other way. It's like after Halloween hits and it's like, well, man, screw it, because it's all blown up from here anyway. I might as well just wait and, you know, let chaos ensue. I've done that many times, man. I'm not gonna lie. Because, like you said, then it's back-to-back stuff for holidays and things like that.
Yeah, my goal, my commitment right now is like I'm on a 30-day or whatever, 26-day, 25-day, 20-day, whatever it is from now to Thanksgiving of just clean eating, real hard discipline. Because I know I love food. I'm going to eat. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And another thing I think that is really critical right now for the end of the year, or just in general, is like really honing in on member retention. You know, really honing in on serving your members to the highest level. You know, I'm big. There's some of the things that I do, man. I'm a big birthday guy, right? Like I go through my birthdays every day, every other day, and here's a hack. You know, if you got a good social media presence and you've got a lot of people that are following you or whatever, what I'll do is I'll go through my birthdays. And obviously, if I know them, like today is, Professor Miles' birthday, I'm going to shoot him a call or a text, you know, or I did shoot him a text, you know what I mean? It's like my mom or my brothers or something. Obviously, I'm picking up the phone or more. But, you know, if it's just acquaintance or a friend that I know on Facebook, you know, then I'm going to go through that birthday and send them maybe a video, happy birthday, maybe just a wishing them happy birthday, happy belated if I missed it of the day. And what that does is, man, it really, really, it does two things. One, it filters out the dead profiles, like people that are, you know, scam bots, people that are, you know, haven't posted. If you haven't posted in a year, I got two things I'm so bad. Oh, man, I'm going to get hated for this one. If you pass away on Facebook, I unfriend you. It's so bad, dude. I know. But I mean, what do I need a person on Facebook that, you know, is not?
And I kind of understand that, because there's been times when I've sent, you know, the note to like somebody's page or business page, like, hey, can you help me out with, can you do, and I go through and I was like, I cannot just hit the all, because unfortunately I've got so many friends that have passed away. Yeah. It's like, how rude is that? Send that to somehow it's still maintained by somebody. You know, a lot of times.
They hang. What I understand is that if the account is inactive for a certain amount of years, then Facebook will just take it off, right? But,
and they also have a memorial thing where you can designate somebody to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can designate somebody to keep your profile, but yeah, I was.
But for me, it's like this, man. I'm like, look, you know, it's my social media is not for real life. You know what I mean? I'll be fully transparent. I'm as authentic as I'm authentic. There's not as I possibly be. I'm authentic. You know, I'm who I am. What you see is what you get here. What you see is what you get there. But it's just not a real world. It's an extension of who you are, but it's a digital world. I love seeing people in real life and connecting and, you know, shaking hands, hugging, you know, that to me is real, visiting, things like that. Right. And it means so much more depth to that. But at the same time, I utilize social media for, you know, what it's supposed to. I want to inspire people. I want to, you know, give people value. I also want to, you know, market myself, market my business. And I want to talk about the things that I want to talk about. But yeah, if you pass away, you know what I mean? There's really no need to talk about or talk to each other. So, you know, I unfriend you. I also unfriend inactive accounts. If you haven't posted in a year, don't take it personal. It's not the personal. It's just like I'm maxed out on my friends list. So make room, I know. We got to make room because I want to do business. I want to inspire. I want to help change other lives. And you know, if you're on Facebook or any other social media platform, just lurking and stalking in the backgrounds, then you know, like I don't know. I just have my feelings about it. It's kind of, you know, it's not for me. But back to my point, I did the weave. What I was saying is I will I'll do the birthdays to filter out the people and the bots and the accounts that aren't active or alive. And then I will also let people know that I see them. You know what I mean? And I think it's a big deal to, you know, I don't care if it's a current member, a former member. If you were a member at SBY MMA Fitness, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to wish you a happy birthday. I'm going to let you know that I'm thinking about you, right? Just because, one, it's a nice thing to do.
Well, and we had, case in point, somebody recently who I think both of us, or maybe it was more than the two of us or three of us here that reached out to this person, wishing them a happy birthday and had messaged them about some, you know, just life.
Yeah.
And they came back in and there, you know, it was.
Well, and there was not just that, there was some stuff that they were battling with that we didn't know nothing about.
Right.
When we were like, dude, we could have helped you with that. Like, you know what I mean? We did help them with that. So yeah, I think it's a great way to keep that.
And I'm not saying that to sound that shallow, like, hey, you do that and they'll come.
No.
But it's important because just what you said, didn't know that they were going through something. It's like, dude, like you've got people here you can talk to, you can lean on.
Yeah, they got back up on their membership dues. And they felt embarrassed and ashamed of themselves.
But we didn't do that to like, oh, we haven't seen him. Like, let's, you know, we got to.
No, it was a fucking happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to explain yourself.
No, I feel like I do.
No, you don't. You don't have to explain yourself because if it's the right thing to do, and the right thing to do needs no explanation. We wish the guy a happy birthday. I didn't know what the fuck he was going through. You didn't know what the fuck he was going through. He hit us up. I didn't even know his account was fucking in delinquency, right? Because I don't manage that, right? You do. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was a simple member. Hey, we know you. We've talked to you. You're a friend. We've seen you around in the community. You're a nice guy. We're a nice guy. Hey, it's the right thing to do. And then he was sat there and opened up and said, hey, I just want to apologize for my lack of absence in a way. And I'm like, dude, well, let's handle this and take care of this, you know? And that needs no explanation. That needs no, you know, I didn't do it. No, it's what you do. It's a digital world. And if we're going to be in a digital world, we got to play by the digital rules and do better than most people that aren't playing by the digital rules. Right. And that's just my stance on that, you know, but I think client retention is huge right now. And the way that you serve your clients to the highest level is exactly that. That's exactly what you do. You fucking reach out to people and you say, hey, how are you? And even take it a step further. All right, well, I want my money. So what if I was reaching out to get my money? I've tried to email you. I've tried to text you. Hey, is everything okay? You know what I mean? Because I don't want to send anybody to collections. That's the part of the agreement that you have. If you sign up a membership, if you sign up a membership with us, it's a year contract. And if you don't pay us, we will send it to collections, right? But I don't want to. That's the last thing I want to do.
And I've always started every conversation, text, email, that same is always asking, like, are you okay?
Yeah, is everybody
all right? Like, what's going on? This is, you know,
and we know, and let's be honest, we know that there's some, you know, embarrassment. We know that there's some, maybe even, you know, hey, I'm avoiding it, right? We're all humans. We know that, right? We're not going into it. Both of us are not going into that conversation like, give me my fucking money or else. It's not what we do. We are going into that conversation with, hey, you know, let's get this cleared up, and you know, to that point, we offer retention deals. Hey, man, look, I know you're struggling right now. What can we do to get this right? What can you afford right now? What can we do to get you back on track? It's more important for us to have the members on the mats or in the gym and getting what they need from the gym.
Exactly.
Than necessarily getting every fucking nickel that we're due and owed, because
it's gonna go way further in the bigger picture.
Well, like I said,
with them getting what they need, because they need to be here if something's going on. They need to be here maybe more than somebody. Not, you know, everybody's for different reasons, but definitely need to be here. And that couple bucks that you're going to get for getting your money, it's not going to make as big a difference as them getting what they need in their life. And then again, the referrals, because they're going to have a good experience and tell somebody, hey, you know, I was going through this. These guys really worked with me. And so
it's like that one dude that came in wanting to fight our guys. We were downstairs. This guy was like looking to fight the best guy. You know what I mean? And I know other gyms like to stand outside their gyms, outside of, you know, across the street from bars, and get people to sign waivers and then video, you know, get people to come in and record them beating their asses so they can show them what combat sports is. And I know that's a competition for some people, but for us, we don't get no points on beating up civilians, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to sit here and beat up a civilian or have my guys beat up a civilian, let alone put it on the internet so we could show the world how much we know, versus we don't get no points for that. What I try to do is I try to turn that person into a sale, into a member, right? But we had a guy that come in and he wanted to fight the best guy and all this stuff and all that. And we were like, you know, I was trying to deter him from that. It's not a good idea, buddy. and he wasn't hearing it. So we put him on the weaker guy in the gym, the lower guy on the totem pole, I should say. Mm-hmm. And it happened exactly how you knew it happened. He started off strong. He was throwing up at the end. We could have, as soon as my guy got him in the mount and was about to ground and pound the shit out of him, I called it. You know what I mean? My guy was so mad at me. He was like, no. We proved our point. He threw up in the trash can. We recorded this, right? He wanted us to record this. We didn't record this. The guy come in and wanted us to record it. And you know what happened? This gentleman actually posted it on social media, giving us massive credit, and we got a referral out of it. And that's the kind of stuff that you do is when you're sitting here, just giving that experience and that, hey, we need you on the mats. It's more important here. It's not always about the dollar. We could have charged them to come in here. We could have beat them up. We could have made all that stuff look really cool for the internet. But what happened was we ended up getting something better. We got, credibility, we got appreciation, and we got a referral out of it by a guy that didn't know what he was getting himself into. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with your retention. If you got somebody who's in the collections, give them a call, give them a text. Hey, what's up? You guys okay? What's going on? I'm not trying to beat you up for your money. We do need our money. You made a contract, but we're not going to have that discussion. What can we do to get you back on track? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing that I think gyms miss out on. And actually you brought that, to my attention and saying that was a good play for us to be able to avoid having to send these accounts to collections. Now, I'll tell you the truth. If I do send you to collections, you might have been a fucking asshole. So if you weren't really, easygoing, or you just completely avoided us in a hole. There's
always a small percentage, but
yeah, we're gonna send it over there. But that's the last thing that we want to do. But member retention is huge, man. And I think that a lot of combat sports gym owners get lost in getting the new members, catering to the white belts, catering to the new students, trying to get them on board with what we do. Not trying to show favoritism, but ultimately it's there is a balance there and a blend. But realistically speaking, those members that that guy that has a family at home, he's middle aged, he comes in 3 times a week, he's on caffeine and lack of sleep and had shitty days, and he's busting his ass every day working a labor job. But he's here, he's dedicated, he's got good vibes, he's all the thing, man. That's the one you really want to, give that props to and that allowance to and things like that. And then, another thing, don't be afraid, gym owners, to give away free shit. Don't give away the house, but man, dude, bless these people, bless these folks, man. It's so important that, you're being a giver and you be surprised. Like, for instance, if I've got a kid or somebody who's like for instance, I got a kid who's in here. He's in here all the time. He's super committed, super dedicated. He's nonstop with his training. He's coming out of his shell. He's helping everybody. And he's got these fucking cheap ass gloves. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, these are your beginner gloves. Well, yeah, I was going to go get some gloves. Take a new pair of gloves. No, I don't want no free. Don't block the blessing. This is you've shown yourself. You've proven yourself. Yeah. Go get a free pair of gloves. You know what I mean? Make sure them bitches are as beat up as these ones right now in the next 2 years, because you put the work in. And then I got a young lady, dude, she literally has bought so much gear from us. She comes to all the seminars. She's bought all the shit. You know what I mean? She's like all in. She sends us referrals. She does good calls. I mean, she does so many great things for us for the gym. Financially, I'm like, bro, the least I can do is give you a free gi or give you a free, pair of shin guards, right? That stuff goes really far, man. It goes really far for your member, because they feel like really appreciated and rewarded for their efforts of what they've done, and that's serving them to the highest level.
And, again, that goes back to the referral thing, but also you're investing in them.
100%.
You're
well put.
You're investing in your current members that way.
Well put.
For sure.
I think also, let's switch gears a bit. What does your staff look like? We just had a meeting today. Yeah. You know what I mean? About,
and I was going to say that when you were mentioning that you're doing this like, what you're trying to do everything, be everything to everybody. So how does that look like? What does that look like in your gym? Yeah. Well,
we have a staff, not many gyms are fortunate enough to have, managers and front desk and social media people and marketing people and things like that. We that's what we're building. We're building a foundation, a business structure to have, employees, people that work for us and do the things. And, you're one of those guys that have been serving, SBY for 6 years, 7 years. along with our sales guy, Owen, you know what I mean? And things like that. So, you know, we had a meeting today where we were like, hey, you know, this is where the gym has evolved, right? The gym has evolved for, you know, and just to be fully transparent, Branden should not be here closing if I have employees, right? That was something that we didn't see. You know what I mean? That was something that like, and you know where that came from? It's funny. My wife and I are trying to carve out more time together, right? And obviously I've got a young son now. So like there's these things that like, you know, I'm just missing out on, right? I'm missing out on these lunch dinners. I missed out on them with my girls, you know, and not poor me, woe is me, but we've gotten to a point where I've got employees. Branden, why are you still closing the gym? You know what I mean? And then what came to my mind, I was like, well, I can't expect Chet to do all of the things, right? So I was like, well, what about Owen? I was like, what about Owen? Like that, didn't see it. But it wasn't, you know, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this because we ran out of time today. But, you know, that was a meeting where, hey, nobody's doing anything wrong. This is how we can get better. And this is where this is the evolution we've gotten to. And this was a blind spot that all three of us were having. So here's the new structure. Here's a new format. This is what I expect. This is what I want. Can you guys handle it? Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Let's move forward. Now we've got a checklist. Now we've got an idea. We've got
and that's growth, because think about it. At one point, that was you. That was all you.
Yes.
You like literally, that was everything that you identified on that board. That was what you did.
But then you're on it today.
But then you get to a point where it's either you keep doing that and you don't grow. You don't grow. It's just not possible. There's no way possible for growth to happen if you're stuck in that circle and that cycle. And then you make the decision, well, now I need a staff. So one person, two people, whatever, however that unfolds. Yep. But then when you go back to it, you said, when you put it out in black and white, literally, and you look at it, it's like, okay, so now it's like regroup and maybe a little restructure time
and clarity.
But and you've got to have it, and it's growth. It's not like this is wrong, that's wrong. It's but that's where you get to eventually. You know, if you're fortunate enough, and you said maybe some places are not at that point, or maybe they don't strive for it, or maybe it scares them. Maybe they're afraid to take that step. Maybe it's a control thing. Maybe like if I don't do it and I'm not the one doing it, it's not going to be right. There's that leap of faith element in there as well. You know, if you don't do it, are you ever going to do it? And, you know, are you comfortable and you're okay with where you're at? Or maybe you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how much bigger, better, and more beneficial your gym could be, not just for you as a business, but to your community. So,
dude, you've hit so many layers on that, and I want to touch on. First of all, let me preface this to everybody. Like, even though Chet doesn't work part-time, you know, you're hired as a part-time, you know, employee, right? Even though, you know, you put a lot more, you volunteer and dedicate a lot more time. And I'm so forever grateful. I want the record to be shown. I want everybody to know, you know, and to all of our millions of listeners, you know, my staff, you, Owen, you know, the coaches, you know, Margot, Connor, like all of our people, the cleaning ladies, man, my staff is why this place is so awesome. Like there are so many things that I do really well for here, but only really well up to what my perspective is. You know what I mean? I've gotten us to this point, or helped gotten us to this point. What really am I not doing very well that I'm in the way of? You know what I mean? But you're part-time, Owen's part-time. We're not telling you gym owners to go, you know, hire full-time people and stuff like that. You know, take it one bite at a time, you know, get a couple hours. Do not trade for a membership. That is a mistake that I've made. Do not trade services for a membership, right? It rarely works out, okay? Pay people, keep the books running, you know what I mean? If you want to trade a coach off for a membership, that's fine. It's a little gray area there. You need to be very selective on who you bring in as a coach and how well you trust them with your program. But do not trade off membership for job duties, because it always gets unfair on both ends. It's one expects more, the other's not getting enough. Just doesn't work. But take it bite by bite. You know what I mean? You were my first employee. You know what I mean? You were my first guy. Me and you were doing so much together, so much, you know what I mean? It was like we're both working 2-3 jobs, you know what I mean? It's like still working 2-3 jobs. I mean, nothing's really changed, except for like we've gotten more clarity on how much shit we shouldn't be doing and how many mistakes we haven't made, you know what I mean? But, you know, without you, man, my gosh, dude, I would be so far, you know what I mean, gone and lost because of, you know, how much it takes to do one-on-one, but take it bite by bite, how much it takes to do on your own, but take it step by step, bite by bite. You know what I mean? You don't have to hire full-time employees, you know, but also, and this is another mistake I made, you can't expect your employee to do every single job task, you know, that I had you doing a lot, man. And I was starting to see you getting frustrated and resentful. And I was starting to get a little frustrated and resentful. And I'm like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? And this was when Margot came in and held that meeting.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. And again,
Margot's so smart.
Gosh, she's a G. Shout out to Margot. I can sit here and point fingers at every one of you guys. And I could sit here, every one of us, this is the crazy thing that people don't realize, can go behind each person's job and pick them apart.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I learned that writing estimates for a body shop, that you can go behind anybody's estimate and find out where they missed and what they could do better. But I could point the fingers at all you guys. It all comes back to me. Either I'm doing a good job leading and being clear and concise on what's expected and what isn't expected and what needs to be done, or I'm not. And I think that so many business owners, and I know I made that mistake myself, they put a task on you and then they put more tasks on you, more tasks on you, more tasks. And what are you going to say? No, I ain't doing that. I don't get paid to do it. No, you're going to be like, yes, whatever I can do. How can I help? Because you're bought in, right? You're an employee person, company person, not employee, company man. So then I'm like looking at it like, holy shit. And we looked at that meeting Margot put, was like, we're all overlapping job descriptions, overlapping job duties. We're doing jobs we don't want to do. We're not getting them done because we hate them. Tasks, I mean. Let's get some clarity. And you remember that day on that meeting, I was like, this is a problem I can't figure out right now. And I couldn't. And now, you know, follow up with our meeting today, I think we got very clear. It was very eye-opening for me. I don't know how you felt about it. You're probably ready to kill me, but you know, but for the most part, that is growth. And then the growth factor is like, and this is the last thing I'll say about that point. I learned this today. I was listening to a podcast and it hit me so hard. How much am I getting in the way? Right? Like, true leadership is what happens when you're not there. That's true leadership. True leadership is what happens with your people that you're leading, what they do and how they become innovative and how they become productive and efficient when you're not there. Mm-hmm. And I've watched myself do this in so many things. And man, I felt this big today coming into work, that I was actually, how many things am I actually getting in the way, preventing you guys from being leaders and growing and making decisions, right? And that's kind of like the base point of what we said is like, it's true growth. And a lot of business owners, gym owners, you're staying too far in the mix. Now, that doesn't mean that every decision is going to be a great one or a good one. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have things that fail. Doesn't mean we're not going to make the bad call. But it does mean that at least if you're making the bad call or you're making the decision, the good call, or you're making all that, now you're growing, not me enabling or, you know, taking away from that and getting in the trenches. My dad was horrible at this. He told me this. He's like, they promoted him. He was a brick mason, and they promoted him to a foreman. And my dad could not help himself. He just could not convey good directions, good training, and good instructions. He gets so frustrated with it.
He would just go do it
and get it out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way. And it just prevented him from being a foreman. And you know what I mean? And that's just, not everybody's made to lead. You know, a lot of people are made to, you know, a lot of people want to be a worker. And a lot of people be somebody who's told, you know, how to do things and do a good job, and that's it. And it's a better life, I'll tell you, sometimes, because it's a lot easier life sometimes when you do that, you know?
And also, I know a lot of business owners, and it doesn't matter what business, but since we're talking about gym business, they have an idea of, to duplicate yourself. If I could duplicate myself, if I could have 3 or 4 or 5 of me, then everything would be perfect. It would be because then it's getting done the way I'm going to do it, which is great in theory. And that's why you have a certain aspect of that works with your SOPs. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we know that this particular task has to be done this way because it's going to be done this way. This location, another location, it's going to be done this way every day. It's going to be done quarterly, yearly. It must be done this way. This is the way that we found after trial and error that this works. This is the best way right now. Yep. But when you come to actual people and the individuals, you don't want everybody to be exactly you. You want to have a Coach P who does things a certain way. Yep. You want to have a Coach Greg who does things a certain way, and they bring different things to the table. And when they're at the top of their game, that's awesome. That's where you want them to be, but you want them to be able to grow and flourish as well. So you don't want robots. You don't want everybody being exactly like you. You want those individuals that are phenomenal at what they do and bring so much to the table as well.
No, 100%. And you don't want that in life.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you want that in everything. You know, you don't want to have people that are just yes man and yes sir and you all the time. And I think that's been a big blind spot for me that I've witnessed and learned the hard way over the course of years in leadership. Is like, hey, sometimes I just need to get out of the way and let the people shine and let them do them. They don't need me to get in there and do this. But well, that 45 minutes, went by really, really fast. I hope that you guys got some value out of this, man. And if you did, please share this with somebody. Let them know. If you know a gym owner or somebody out there that's that needs some guidance, some direction. We're not the best. We don't know everything, but we're doing pretty good, and what we're doing is working. Man, make sure that you share this with them. Let them see this episode. Have them message us. Tell us what they think about it. Leave a review. All of that stuff goes really far for us and helps us get seen on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, all the above. But yeah, man, I'm glad you made it in today, dude. It was a pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah. We've been hitting and missing for a long time. We got to get our Chet love once a month. You know what I mean? And
I just want to throw one more thing in there. We talk about gym business, gym industry, but I think a lot of this applies to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, don't get stuck on that dot that, this is just about a gym, because you could apply this to just about anything.
100%. Well, guys, that's wrapping up this episode of Champ Talk with Branden Hudson, guys. I hope that I hear you guys next week. See you guys next week. You listening, whatever have you. What are you doing today to become a champion?